Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, my name is Charity Frankowski, and I am honored to welcome you on behalf of the OLA Affinity Group here at AmeriCorps. We're always excited to put on a Hispanic Heritage event, and we are excited to have you join us today for this important discussion on food insecurity and how communities are taking action. But before we dive into today's conversation, we have a few things we're going to do first. We have a short highlighting video that shows the incredible work that AmeriCorps does. We have a video with a few words from Representative Velasquez of New York, and we have our COO, Gina Cross. So thank you for joining. Here's the video.
¿Qué tienen en común reconstruir casas tras el paso de un huracán en Puerto Rico con enseñar a leer a niños en Nevada? Lo mismo que tienen en común la agricultura urbana en Nueva York con el acceso a salud mental en Missouri. AmeriCorps, la Agencia Federal para el Servicio Nacional y el Voluntariado. AmeriCorps ofrece a cientos de miles de personas la posibilidad de servir en sus comunidades por un día, un verano o un año. Nuestros miembros ayudan a las familias a obtener vivienda asequible, sirven como mentores a estudiantes, ayudan a comunidades a recuperarse después de desastres, mejoran el acceso al empleo y mucho más. AmeriCorps también invierte en organizaciones locales para ayudarles a lograr sus metas. Y los miembros y voluntarios de AmeriCorps obtienen beneficios como dinero para pagar facturas, beca educativa y aplazamiento de préstamos estudiantiles, acceso a una red cada vez mayor de compañías y universidades, experiencia del mundo real para impulsar o reiniciar carreras y amigos para toda la vida. Conoce más en americorps.gov.
Hello, I am Congresswoman Nydia Velasquez, representative of New York's 7th Congressional District. I am also the first Puerto Rican woman ever elected to Congress and the first Latina to chair a full congressional committee. During Hispanic Heritage Month, I am honored to join AmeriCorps to highlight leaders in the fight against food insecurity in the Hispanic community. I would like to thank AmeriCorps for their work to address the challenges we are discussing today. In one of the richest countries in the world, no one should go hungry or be food insecure. AmeriCorps volunteers are on the front lines of this crisis. Last year, over 35,000 AmeriCorps members and volunteers worked to address hunger and food insecurity for 2.2 million people nationwide. Every day, Hispanic and Latino AmeriCorps members and AmeriCorps senior volunteers are supporting their communities on a wide range of issues, including addressing hunger and food security challenges. Today, you will hear from Mujeres de Islas, an AmeriCorps grantee, about the ways this grassroots organization empowers women and addresses food insecurity in underserved coastal communities in Puerto Rico. About 40% of Puerto Ricans and 56% of Puerto Rican children are food insecure. This is much higher than the average food insecurity rate of 10.4% in the United States. Organizations like Mujeres de Isla are about empowerment and enabling local populations to take charge of their own food systems. These efforts give me tremendous hope that we can one day bring food security to every underserved community in this country. It is vital that Congress support these efforts with robust policy and funding that empowers AmeriCorps and similar programs to expand their reach, improve infrastructure, and enhance food insecurity for future generations. Whether through volunteering, advocacy, or policymaking, each of us has a role to play in ensuring no family goes hungry. I hope that today's event allows us to find more ways that we can work together to end food insecurity in America. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gina Cross, the Chief Operating Officer here at AmeriCorps and a very proud AmeriCorps alum. I wanted to thank Representative Velasquez for her remarks and for sharing all the great work being done by AmeriCorps partners and members in their community. As a Hispanic woman, I'm honored to have the privilege to bring opening remarks as we prepare for a stimulating conversation centered on the very important topic of food security. During Hispanic Heritage Month, we celebrate the incredible contributions and lasting influence of Hispanic Americans to our nation's progress, as well as our national service movement. Today's topic addresses an issue that has a close connection to me and to those that inspired my path to service through the examples they set. My family. I have a big family. My mom is the youngest of 13 siblings, so I'm fortunate to have a lot of examples to learn from. My grandparents' business was a small corner market in Corpus Christi, Texas, with a lunch counter. The customers were neighbors and local workers, extended family, one community, and those in need never went without. That example was a force multiplier for us. One of my tias went on to be an HIV/AIDS educator for farm workers in California, and several of my tias went on to have restaurants in Texas and often led grassroots support for the comunidad by selling plates of delicious food to raise money when people needed the help. I didn't know it then, but that was service, not labeled or widely recognized, but important, and a common expectation. I'm so grateful for those examples and what they set for me. And now I understand where culture and community set my then common expectations for my path ahead. So grateful for all of that. Julia Alvarez once said, "The point is not to pay back kindness, but to pass it on." So I hope you are inspired to do just that and continue to do just pass it on, take action, and make a difference in our communities. I'm now going to pass it back to Charity so she can introduce our moderator for the day. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited for the presentation.
Thank you so much, Gina, for your words. Every time I hear you speak about your family and how your Hispanic heritage influenced you and influenced your service, it just reminds me of how much we all have in common. Thank you. So it is my pleasure to introduce our moderator for today. His name is Alejandro Figueroa. Alejandro is a talented food reporter with a passion for sharing stories that drive change in communities. We are thrilled to have him guide us through today's conversation. Alejandro, over to you.
All right, thank you for that, Charity. Good afternoon and good morning if you're on listening from the West Coast like me. I'm Alejandro Figueroa, and I am honored to be moderating today's conversation. This event is part of AmeriCorps' Hispanic Heritage Month celebration, and we're going to explore the critical issue of food insecurity in the Latinx community. We have some incredible leaders here to share the stories and insights, and I'm really excited to introduce our panelist today, Dulce del Rio Pineda. She's the founder of Mujeres de Islas. Dulce has been a driving force behind this organization, which has been doing extraordinary work in Culebra, Puerto Rico. Under her leadership, Mujeres de Islas has been addressing food insecurity and other critical challenges in the community. And we're fortunate to have her here today to share her insights and experiences. And before we jump in, we are going to have about 10 to 15 minutes towards the end for a Q&A session. But just to give you a heads up so you can think about any questions you might have towards the end. But with that said, let's start learning with Mujeres de Islas and about Dulce and her team and what they're doing. So Dulce, we're just going to jump straight in. Can you tell me about Mujeres de Islas, and can you just give us a brief background about the nonprofit's mission and what it does?
Well, please receive my thank you. Not just Alejandro that makes it easy to share because of his knowledge on how to ask the questions, but also for the people that have been putting some notes in the chat. I'm going to focus now on sharing with you with my whole heart what it has entailed to lead and co-found this organization. So my name is Dulce del Rio Pineda, like you can see on the notes there and the presentation. And it's going to be 15 years ago next October. We're 14. So we're preparing for our quinceañero. So you that are on the call and have experienced a quinceañero, we're going to we're going to celebrate big. So you're already all invited next October to Culebra and participate with us in this event. And so why do I share this? Because at the moment when we founded Mujeres de Islas, it was a dream, like most of us do. Yeah, Kathleen, you're more than welcome. So we sat at a round table, a bunch of women from different areas, the passionate for the arts or the theater or the work with community or social work or people, elders. And in my case, it was pregnant women services or pregnant people services and early childhood and so on. So we were like, okay, let's focus, let's put all dreams together and this is how it became. Each one of us took our dream and said, okay, I'm going to work on this. And so we will call ourselves our motors. So the rest of the group would be our force behind the motor. So we were all backing everybody else's dreams. Some we achieved in a shorter time, like for example, rehabilitating theater that had been identified and started in 2014. And it took years for it to be finally open, or inaugurated, but at least we started the movement tower, making sure that the theater would not be abandoned without even being open. So that is an achievement that it's not just Mujeres de Islas, but we were kind of one of the members that was at that table that you can picture had that paper, and she calls it Teatro Tuyo y Mío. So we're all owners of that teatro. So move forward, and then it's 2014. This was 2010. You do the math. I told you we were 10 years in the works. So a friend of mine was the director of the commission in Puerto Rico for AmeriCorps State. And she said she had been to Culebra and knew of a lot of our needs. And she says, why don't, one of the things we need to do is make a day for service. Martin Luther King, one of the, I guess you'll also know that. So they said, all we need is to have a place to sleep and, for us to prepare some food, and you help us with that. So around 80 members and their supervisors came to Culebra from all of the mainland of Puerto Rico, Big Island, like we call it here. And they did a work that was, for me, fascinating. They not just came to do service and help us fix things, paint, cut grass, and put screens up. They brought the materials to teach us how to do that. So stay and left those with us. And I thought, oh my God, what a program. I had heard about AmeriCorps, but I had never experienced AmeriCorps. So I'm just gonna throw this in there so that you can put it on a note. It's very important that everybody experiences AmeriCorps. How we do that, I'm not sure. But still today, there are people that don't know what AmeriCorps is, at least in Puerto Rico, in our archipelago. So I'm putting it out there for all of us to work on that. So I said, oh my, I want that program. We need it in Culebra. Everybody that had experienced that benefit of that weekend, it was like a 2-day thing, also agreed. So there we are, applying for AmeriCorps state grant, and we got it. And today also we're celebrating our 10th year, coming into our 11th year. So I say that because from the beginning, our project was focused on food sovereignty under the priority of healthy future. And for us, healthy futures, as was mentioned, I think by Charity, food brings us together. It's so much more than what is cooked. It's the way it's cooked, what goes in there, and who is cooking, and how we come together to share that experience. So I'm gonna leave it there because I know that Alejandro has an experience on asking the questions, so guide me. And so please guide me.
No, you're good. That was a good introduction to what Mujeres e Islas is, and I appreciate the background. I kind of, before we sort of take a deep dive into some of those projects and the focus of what Mujeres e Islas does, I kind of wonder if you can paint a picture for us about the problems, some of the issues that residents in Culebra are facing. And I guess, before I also want to make sure that people understand that Culebra, it's an island outside of Puerto Rico. It's about 17 miles off the east coast of Puerto Rico. So yeah, I kind of wonder if you can talk about
Yeah.
some of those issues in that island, specifically related to food access. Start there.
Okay, so as Alejandro said, we are part of our archipelago. That has been one of my missions, to ensure that everybody knows that we're not Puerto Rico island. We're a Puerto Rico archipelago, islands, if you want, or archipelago. So that has now been kind of normalized, and I'm very happy for that. And but for a long time, we felt, and sometimes, especially after emergencies, we are literally abandoned to our resources, because they take away the ferries, the flights cannot go, so we are here by ourselves, and we have to be prepared for what comes. And the position of Culebra related to the Big Island is it's far away, and there is a sea between us. So some people think that, so transportation is important, maritime transportation. So we know that most of our food, 80 to 85 to 90% of the food that comes into the mainland of Puerto Rico or the Big Island of Puerto Rico is, imported. So for us, it's like 99, because we don't have a lot of access to any one of the markets, or I have to say we didn't have. Mujeres de Islas has provided markets, so people can come and share, not just sell, but more share. Like if I have a lot of mangoes, for example, or carambolas, and so I bring them, and then, maybe you have been able to grow more peppers, and it's kind of like a trueque instead of like what most people go to markets to buy. So that has been a success, and so the challenge of getting food to Culebra, not just how to get it to Culebra, because the seas get rough, and some of you have maybe visited us, and if it's a nice day like today, you don't suffer much, but if it isn't, you can maybe get here and say, how in the hell people live here, you know? And some people have questioned us that, like, why do you live there? So once you get here, you know why, and people don't want to leave. Like it happened to me 40 years ago. So going back to the food insecurity, it feels as if how do I say it? It feels as if even if you want to be prepared emotionally, that is kind of taken away because you never know. Like there was an anuncio and there was an aviso of a strike on the docks of Puerto Rico, you know, where everything comes through due to the, you know, Jones Act. It's only through the San Juan port and only American vessels. And so if a strike, and then we started already here preparing, because if a strike happens, some things might be able to get to the Big Island, but not to here. And also the quality of the food that might get here, because it already has traveled all the way. And very important, the cost. I mean, in Culebra, you can easily find a egg carton that costs you anywhere from $10 to $12. So what do we do? Then that is one of the things that I'll be answering. But that is our reality. The accessibility is very limited. We have three, we call it mercados or markets. We have this garden that has some, you know, more vegetables that are coming on a weekly basis, and then we have SEBA. We have our program, Proyecto Siembra.
And I want to get to that. The, you know, I kind of wonder, with some of those challenges that you mentioned, which is right, the transportation part of it, and also the supply part of it too, right? Not only does the food come from a port from the mainland US to Puerto Rico to then Culebra, which is a lot, and then the lack of you know, few places to get it in Culebra. I kind of wonder, like, how have political and community leaders responded to some of those issues, specifically in Culebra, over time?
Well, in its beginning, Culebra was poblado, inhabited,
Populated, it was, yeah.
populated by agriculture, farmers. And we even exported back then when, you know, but then the US Navy came and that affected us immensely, because also remember, we're a very small island. We're 17, 18 people. And we have a 7x3, a beautiful island. So by 3 miles. But we got to the moment where we exported. Then after the Navy, the US Navy, we had difficulty because our waters also are contaminated still. And this is a community also that was built on agriculture and fishing. So that was the main source of food. And so move forward, the Navy, you know, is kicked out of here. We finally won in 1975, and then a manufacturer company came and built a big building, and everybody went to work there. So there was a moment there, like a generation kind of, that lost a little bit of that contact with nature. Still have it, and we still have people that remember them or their parents or maybe their grandparents. So there is that knowledge. And I just feel like Mujeres de Isla has been able to spark a little bit of that knowledge. And we're very proud also to say that we have sponsored the incubating of the Asociación Pesquera de Culebra. So it had been non-existent for not the fishing. Everybody goes out and fish or catches, bulgao or crabs, but to fish and have a fishing co-op was abandoned for like the past 20 years. So we proudly can present to you that we have a fishing, Culebra Fishing Association that we helped, build as a business. And then as part of Mujeres de Islas, because, we're their, ¿cómo se llama? Fiscal sponsor. So why is that? Because, why do we believe in that? Because we have a incredible kitchen that we can talk a little bit more about it later on, but the way we work in Culebra is yesterday there was a foundation that came to visit us and also the fishing association, and they were saying, but explain how you work and because it all seems like it's interweaved. And I said, definitely, it's like, have you seen the nets for fishing, when you throw it out the jola? And so it's like that. It's like when you weave that, you kind of like look for the knots and then look where the spaces are and all that. So an example, a story I love to tell because it exemplifies what I'm trying to convey, is that after ¿cómo se llama? After Fiona, even though Fiona did not impact us directly, Culebra, our ferries were taken away because of a preventive measure. They take away them for 2 weeks, depending on what the Coast Guard decides that is the best. So we were totally disconnected. So here are the fishermen and people fishing they caught a bunch of fish and they had it in their at the refrigerator, and electricity went off. So we're off grid at our community kitchen. So we have solar panels. So we said, okay, we'll just get them from you. We'll buy them because they couldn't sell it. There was no one coming. There was no tourists, no restaurants, so they couldn't sell it to anybody. So I said, okay, we'll buy it, and with that fish, we'll do a fish caldo. How do you say that? Soup, kind of soup.
Like a
And
soup or yeah.
caldo de pescado. And so we did it every Tuesday. We had a convening here in the afternoon, and people could come and get their service to go, or they could share here. And we had a domino table, and we had even like wellness services. And we took that fishing stew is the word in English, I just remember. We took it to like the old like the ejida, or the place where elders live. So I felt that was like, that is how connected we are, and that is how we support each other. And that is where Mujeres de Islas, at the beginning you mentioned about our mission, and it's our mission is how do you say that in autogestionarnos, like self govern us, I'm not talking politics here, I'm talking about the food, particularly
Self-reliance.
self-reliant, because the truth is that that is the way that we're gonna be able to continue enjoying this island and sharing with all of you that will be coming
Yeah.
on October.
No, I mean, yeah, what you're talking about is that there's really in more recent years, there's this sort of attempt to reclaim Puerto Rico's agricultural and culinary heritage, which is something that's always existed, in many different generations. And that's something that, as you're talking about, Mujeres de Islas, it's playing a role. And I kind of wonder if we can talk about more specifically what role Mujeres de Islas is playing in solving or mitigating some of those issues that you started. You have a good handful of programs and initiatives. And I wonder if we can start with food access. That's the main concern in this region. So yeah, what is that role that Mujeres de Islas plays?
Well, on a local level, We are providing experiences through conservation techniques like the umbraculo or high tunnel. We have the first and only high tunnel in Culebra. So people can experience what that is because we didn't know what it was, really, we didn't have one here. So that is a place where you can cultivate um, uh, many things, but they're in a protected environment. So people can come and see it, and they can also replicate it in a smaller scale at their homes. And we're promoting that. We're promoting also in every school. We visit every week, every school. We have two schools, the public and a private school, and also daycare center for children. And now we're starting with the daycare center for the adultos mayores, or the elders. And it's fascinating to see. Another story that I always love to do to share is that we, besides going to the schools, we also bring the kids here on a weekly basis on a Club Siembra. Whoever wants to participate in Club Siembra, they come, and they're kids from maybe 6, 7 years old to 13, 14. And so there was one time they're walking around, one of the first time they came here, and they see this eggplant plant. And it was I don't know how many of you are familiar to the eggplant family, but it's an eggplant that is very thin and long, elongated, not the common one that we see that's more like a pear-like. And he goes, look, he's calling his friend and everybody, look, I found a hot dog plant. So we all laughed about it, and we thought it was so hilarious. But at the same time, it reflected on how important it is for them to know where their food is coming from. What is this that you're thinking it's a hot dog, and what does it taste, because he had never tried it. And in this case, we decided, okay, we all know empanadillas and bacalaito and el capurrea and all that stuff. So we're transforming that, not changing our whole diet as a community or as a nation, but yes, transforming it. In which way? So we started with the empanadillas de carne, but instead of frying them, we baked them. So that was the first thing we did. So and this is preparing the snacks for the kids, So here we are, doing the snacks. And then we said, okay, then now we're going to use that berenjena they're picking and make a berenjena empanadilla. And they ate it. There was only one kid, I have to admit. There was one kid that said, I'm not trying it. I'm okay. So, but from all the 35, 40 that come, it's marvelous. And then they planted gandures, and then they picked them up. And then we did ensalada de gandures, not just a rice with gandures. So all that for us is what is giving our mission, ¿cómo se llama? A result, like we can see it. We can see their faces. We can see how they are so proud of having this big cesta of, I wish I had some pictures I could share, but some other day. So a big cesta of gandules, or they're pulling and pushing that compost pile, because we also pick up the organics that are left over from around town, and then we mix them here with composting. And
Yeah.
even though it's important to build that soil for us, and especially for me, because like I mentioned before, that's the area that I am more passionate about, the early childhood ages, and I'm a teacher as a professional special education teacher. So then, or I was, but it's always in our heart. So anyhow, I feel like when they get in there and move that, composting pile, when they go and harvest that big lettuce, and they realize it's not the lettuce you get at the market, it's this iceberg white lettuce. It's colorful, it's beautiful greens, and then we have kale, and then we have, so anyhow, I can go on and on. So I'll
No,
stop.
yeah. But that's so important, because I mean, what you're talking about is not just when you're talking about food access. I mean, there's one thing is the food, right? Like make sure it's available. But the other thing is knowing where it comes from and how you grow it, and what do you do? Like, how do you, like, what do you cook with it? And that's part of what you're talking about and what you're doing in like the curriculum that you're creating with these schools that you work with. And real quick, I have a couple more questions, but you mentioned Club Siembra. I wonder if you can talk very quickly about what that is and what you guys do with that.
In 2016, there was a summer camp. We usually serve as a place where summer camps come and do some of the activities for the summer. And this summer camp decided it was the mental health agency summer camp, and it was called Siembra Palante. So they decided to base it on, basic on gardening. So they would come every day, every week, and different groups, ages. And at the end of the 2-week camp, the kids said, we want to continue coming. And I'm like, well, the summer camp's over, kind of like the rules. And then they're like, but we want to. And so there's where Club Siembra was born. They wrote a list like this, a paper, put their names and says, we want to continue coming. So who can say no to that? So that's how it started. And we meet since then every week. And we've seen the kids grow. I remember after the hurricanes, there was this family that left to the United States, and they really wanted to take a plátano plant with them. And I said, I don't think you can. But, we still gave it to them because they felt like they needed to have it. But I know they never took it to. But their feeling of connecting to the land that saw them grow was so important. And what can I say? So that's our Club Siembra, and then it's expanded. Some kids don't really like to touch the land, the soil that much. There are different personalities and so they're all exposed, but they can also rotate. We have a wood shop workroom, and there they can, build boxes for planting or bird feeders, etc. Then we also have a sewing room. So in that sewing room, they also experience how to make like even bags so that you don't you have reusable bags. And we have an art room, and there they do the little letreros, like little signs for where the plants and what type of plant they are, and they draw them. So everything is related to, and some of them love to cook. That is something I think it's not necessarily me. I'm not that type, but the majority of our community is love to cook. And so the kids are no exception. And so we rotate. That's what happens every week. So we go to the kitchen and they prepare the snacks for the whole group for that day.
And I kind of wonder, beyond working in school with children, how do you engage with like the broader local community in Culebra in that work that you do when we're talking about agricultural knowledge, cooking? Yeah,
Well,
how do you engage the broader community?
once a month, we have a workshop at the Sazon. It's open to the whole community. So, and we bring the same people from our community to offer the workshop. So it's very, like, we have also a teacher that's from Mexico. So another woman that was trained, she's a chef. She's from Culebra, but she's a chef, and she prepares sushi. Then we have the fishermen preparing the fish. And then we have a young adult that came from Maryland, and it's now living in Culebra, and she's doing this oatmeal cookies that are, so we invite the whole community to participate in these workshops, and they're open like to around 15 to 16 people because of this space, and it's always full. It's always people asking for more. So that's on a monthly basis. And we also have on a monthly basis every first Wednesday of the month, we have Cine Siembra. And that has been going also on since 2000. I think the first one was 2015. So what we do is we call it saberes y sabores. So saberes meaning like we bring, let's say, oregano, which we have a lot right now, oregano. And we say, okay, so we're going to talk about the oregano, and we're going to see what the benefits are, how you can plant them, how it really can grow, what the uses are. And then after we share that and how it can be included at colados, you also have sabores. So we also have a sharing, as we were talking before, a sharing of a snack that can include things like helado de oregano, or we have arroz con oregano, like we were having that yesterday, served to our community, and things that people don't necessarily use the oregano for, but then we kind of like look for recipes that are using it, and then provide that experience. And we do a tea, always like a cold tea because it's very hot here, but a cold tea of maybe oregano with a limoncillo and whatnot. So that is how we share with our community. Plus, we also offer twice a week food for our most needed people. A hot meal, hot lunch. Yeah.
We are talking about in part how also AmeriCorps sort of plays a role in this.
Mhm.
I kind of wonder, how the role of a national service program like AmeriCorps has sort of helped you and strengthen some of those efforts that you're talking about.
Well, two ways. We have AmeriCorps State, and a couple of years ago, thanks to another program called Plenitud Puerto Rico, and also the staff in Puerto Rico, we got AmeriCorps Vista. So thank you, Kenia, Kathleen. I don't know if Amanda is there, but all of them, thank you very much. And also Paula and Owen helped from Plenitud Puerto Rico, another sister program in Las Marias, very similar to what we do. And even though it's mountainous, and here it's coastal, so we include more the fish, but still very similar. So what we have felt is support to ensure that we can offer an experience that most people that we have as members could not have had. Why? Because maybe they haven't graduated and we help them graduate from high school. So that is a plus. Maybe they graduate from high school, but if you know a little bit of Puerto Rico's school system, sometimes that doesn't mean you really end up with a career, a possibility of career. So then we support them in finding what is an area that they feel more in tune or passionate, going back to our passion. And then so there's this young woman used to be my student, and she did graduate from high school, and then she became AmeriCorps member. She worked, gardening, visiting the schools and learning about all that for years, for 4 years, and here she's an employee. Mujeres de Islas has that possibility, and she's employed, and then she loves sewing. After, when COVID happened, she had bought herself a sewing machine and started making masks, and that gave her strength. And today I can say she's also one of the incubators of our incubator of Mujeres de Islas, and she has the name for her business, and she's moving forward on her small business, and which is also always based on solidarity and social economy. So this is a clear example. And just to follow up a little bit on her, because I've known her since before she was born, because her mother was my student. I'm pretty old, as you can figure. So and so she one of the challenges we have is the Coca-Cola, or not, let's not say the soft drinks, and we don't allow them here. Can't put them in the refrigerator. I'm sorry, no. And that is it's we're promoting nutrition. You can have it, you can have it in front of the kids, blah blah blah. So she was always finding a way of going out, having her like Coca-Cola, in her case is Coca-Cola, and then coming in, kind of like, cigarette. So I was like, oh, you can do better. You have 2 kids, all the modeling. But, and yesterday I came in the kitchen, and she says, she was explaining, she had just gone to a training on nutrition. Nutriendo Puerto Rico had an event last Friday. And that's another thing that AmeriCorps supports. It's like we can train 20% maximum, but still we can train them. And in this case, she's an employee now, but she went with another AmeriCorps member, and she did, they came back fascinated, and all the food that was served had included vegetables and included fruits. And I said, and what about the Coca-Cola? And she says, I'm not drinking Coca-Cola anymore. I'm like, what? And so I'm celebrating with you that, because for me, for Mujeres de Islas, but for Dulce del Rio Pineda, that is a goal. That is, it's not a goal. What is the word? That's what I aspire. And so, yeah.
It's like you're talking about basically helping people make maybe better, healthy food choices for themselves.
Yes, but as I mentioned at the beginning, food comes with wellness. You know, you don't I don't separate food from convening. I don't separate food from team effort, food from, you know, sustaining. The word is sustaining. Yeah. So when I spoke about women, Mujeres de Islas having a sustainability goal, it's not just having enough lechuga up there, you know, like lettuce up there, or having enough fish. That is part of it, but most important is what you do with that, how you um, bring it. And as we speak, I want to take a moment to acknowledge our families and our brothers and sisters in Florida and how we feel for them, you know. And already in Puerto Rico, we're organizing on how to support them and how to figure out, and through our friends and families, what they need, you know, and to make sure that an experience that we have had to experience many times. And I know that Florida has not been exempt of these disasters, but this is a big one. So, you know, it kind of touches, what do you say? The heart
Yeah.
or home.
I'm gonna have to start wrapping up here. We have about three minutes before we open up the QA for the audience. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to start putting there in the QA box. But before we turn it over, Dulce, I kind of wonder if you can talk about from your experiences of doing this and working through the different challenges that you brought up and the programs that you've established to address some of these sort of like food knowledge and food insecurity issues. um what lessons have you learned that you think maybe can be applied to other regions, whether that's in Puerto Rico or elsewhere, that are facing similar issues?
One thing is always have faith. It's not a faith, yo digo que it's not a faith, it's a verb. It's not just an emotion or a word or a noun. And so with that, I mean action. So I feel that one important thing is to connect with other groups, connect with other organizations, connect with who's doing maybe some changes in politics that can benefit us. And I feel that the more we do that weaving, the stronger we're all gonna be. So as part of Mujeres de Islas, I'm also a member of the Commission for Eradicating Poverty, Children Poverty, and Social Inequality in Puerto Rico. And that's a big space to take because we're only 5 organizations representing community organizations in Puerto Rico with all the agencies, but we have already seen some changes that can hopefully propose. And I bring that because we are finishing a plan for a 10-year plan as part of this law that created this commission. And I want to make sure that we all know about that plan and we somehow evaluate it or promote it or recommend any changes. So that is coming at the end of October, and I can share it with our colleagues from America Vista, and they can maybe share with everybody that's on the line. But the idea is to have a whole Puerto Rico plan for. And one of the main things in that plan, one of the areas is food secure areas, but food security. Mm-hmm.
Good. Dulce, I thank you so much for going through all those different details. And now, we can just take a couple questions from the audience. So if you're here in person or joining us virtually, feel free to ask away.
Mhm. Thanks everybody for the hearts. Makes my heart melt. Thank you.
And I guess while we wait for maybe some of the questions to pop up, I kind of have a quick one. I kind of wonder if maybe you can talk very quickly um, if there have been any sort of um, opportunities for Mujeres Islas um, to like leverage the work that you do in Culebra uh, with and or like influencing policy changes in that island to help people. Is that something that you work with?
Yes, as I said, as part of the commission, that is policy. We are working on policy being made to comply, to be able to comply with those goals that we're putting in. There was a lot of people invited to share their opinions or their interest or their suggestions to be included. And there were many, ¿cómo se llaman? Interviews, and they even came to Culebra, interview youth, especially because we need to focus. I think one of the things that we need to understand more clearly is how you include the youth in decision making, because they have like a different way of seeing things, which also give them a different, give us all a different opportunity on how to change or how to make a change happen.
We
Also, I'm sorry.
Oh no, go
Do
ahead.
you have
I was going to say we have one question at least.
yeah. Ah.
But, do you want to finish your thought or do you want to jump into this question?
Yeah, I just wanted to finish that thought that I can't repeat it enough, that youth has to be heard.
Yeah.
At least in our community, we're making a bet. We're not just making an effort, we're making it happen by including them in our conversations and even decision making.
Yeah.
Mm.
And we have, this question, it's a good question. It says, what keeps you motivated to help your community when many people can be hesitant to trust?
As I mentioned before, I guess it's faith, but the action of faith, not just the noun. So what does that mean? That means that, as I shared before, I see that young woman that I saw, in the belly of her mother, and then and now she's a mother too, and how she's caring for them enough to change one of the habits that we know impact our kids and so much, and that she wants to, and that she started a business. And that's so the only experience she had with a sewing machine was here. So we never know really what is gonna be what moves people. But being Mujeres de Islas has always say one of our main pillars is that we offer options, and then you can kind of like choose and decide. So that, I think it's important.
Yeah. We have, let me see, I'm going to read this real quick. All right. We got one question, another one. How has the population of Culebra changed since you uh, served the community, started serving the community some 15 years ago?
Well, 40 years, no, well, Mujeres de Islas, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it hasn't changed much. We've lost some community members, we've gained others, and this has a lot to do with the law 60. So that's kind of like why on paper and some statistics, especially the census, we're one of the less poorest, or the poorest community in Puerto Rico, in archipelago. But when you separate that, which they finally doing, like doing the especially for Feeding America, the Feeding America, the food banks. And so they had never included Puerto Rico as their census, but now they
Wow.
did this year. And and the results are, as the Representative Velasquez mentioned, and she just touched upon it. We have communities in Puerto Rico, in Utuado particularly, and I have the name of the community. I can share that with anybody interested, that have a 65% of food insecurity. So let that sink in, 65%. So, and then Culebra, the same. We have places in Culebra where people, they fly their own planes and they bring their own food from wherever. But there were most of the rest of the community that don't have that option, and what is at the stores might be unreachable. So some of them, a lot of people in Culebra go to the mainland, the Big Island, like we call it, and buy food over there in a cheaper way. But that food usually has to be processed. I think of it, it comes from the States on a trailer, a container, gets to the port, comes from the port to the distribution centers, and from the distribution center, like someone picks it up for Culebra and comes on a ferry on another, transportation, and then goes back to come to us. So most of it has to be processed and sometimes too old. It comes here, it's already, we use it for composting.
Yeah.
It's like very sad. So yeah.
Dulce, I mean, we can talk about this for so long, and I think I wish sometimes we had more time, but esto ha sido un placer. Like, this has been great. I don't think I see any other questions in here, and I think we're gonna have to start wrapping it up. But I thank you so much, and thank you to anyone who's listening to this great, excellent conversation. I wish you luck and congratulations on 15 years, or celebrating close to 15 years with Mujeres de Islas. And I hope we can continue to work together and to work on this. So you all have a great afternoon, and thank you so much for attending this.
Gracias, gracias, gracias.
Thank you all so much for attending our signature event for Hispanic Heritage Month. We are going to have another event tomorrow, same time, 2 p.m., and you're going to now hear from members. Thank you, Dulce. Thank you, Alejandro. Dulce, your story and the work you all are doing is so impactful. Continue to do it, and I'm so excited to see where you grow and go. Alejandro, we look forward to having you moderate another event for us and a great panel tomorrow. So if you all, again, tomorrow, 2 p.m., we're going to talk about the courage to nourish. So please make sure you tune in and tap in with us. If you have not registered, the link is available. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. And shout out to OPE for the help in putting both of these events together.